I'm going to shift gears now and reflect on our theme of community, which is a foundational Benedictine value. I say foundational because St. Benedict understood that the search for God is best carried out in community rather than in isolation. And Benedictine education understands that the search for truth is a communal endeavor, not a competition between individuals. In a Benedictine learning community, we practice humility. We acknowledge individually our ignorance, our partial perspectives, and sometimes our self-interest. We realize and acknowledge that this is the beginning of wisdom. We open ourselves to the insights and the stories of others. We are willing to become vulnerable to new and different ideas, to new and different people, even if new ideas and new people can sometimes make us uncomfortable. We support one another in the educational journey. In my last year as president, I want to concentrate our attention and our energy on the important topic of inclusive excellence. I believe that this is the next step in the evolution of our Benedictine learning community and in the realization of our college's mission and values. For many people, excellence is by definition an exclusionary term. Indeed, one sure way to raise a school standing in U.S. News rankings is to turn away more and more students. You're not good enough for us. That's how good we are. Inclusive excellence turns that definition on its head. I very much like the way Arizona State University puts it. They say, we define excellence not by who we exclude, but by who we include and how well they succeed. Inclusive excellence means that all students, including historically disadvantaged students, are accepted into colleges and universities of their choice at comparable rates, that they enroll at comparable rates in honors programs and study abroad programs, and that they persist and graduate at comparable rates, regardless of income level, skin color, or ethnic background. Inclusive excellence does not mean that everyone deserves an A. Rather, it means that college success rates should reflect differences in ability or effort, not differences in income, race, or ethnicity. Inclusive excellence thus refers to equality of access and equality of opportunity for all students. That's the ideal. The reality is that, as one report puts it, despite years of increasing diversity in overall post-secondary enrollment, educational opportunity in the United States, and the economic and social benefits it affords remains markedly stratified along racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic lines. For example, an average student from the upper income quartile has a far greater chance of college success than an exceptional student from the lowest quartile. At our own college, domestic students of color have lower 4, 5, and 6-year graduation rates than others. In addition to a moral problem, this situation represents an economic threat to our country. By 2027, 12 years from now, half of the students in U.S. high schools will be students of color. If we cannot enroll these students in college and educate them successfully, then our future as a diverse democracy and a productive economy is in jeopardy. Today, St. Scholastica serves the 4th lowest percentage of students of color among the 17 Minnesota private colleges. To be sure, our college has made efforts to address inclusive excellence in recent years. I see our work progressing in 3 stages. Stage 1 was extending the invitation. We came to the realization that for several good reasons, including our Catholic Benedictine values, social justice, learning theory, demographic realities, and preparing students to work in a global village, we needed to become a much more diverse community, one where people of all backgrounds feel welcomed and included. And so we began to recruit diverse students, faculty, and staff. This was an important first step. In stage 2, where we are now, we work hard to support the students that we've recruited. We've hired additional staff, we've designed orientation programs and retention programs, and we've educated ourselves to become more culturally fluent. We want to help students from different backgrounds learn how to adapt and navigate our college systems. Invitation and support are indeed important steps. And now we need to move to the most difficult stage, which is transformation. Inclusion requires transformation of the institution rather than simply adding in the excluded. I find that a very powerful statement. A transformed community. This is what our mission requires of us. We must change structures to serve students rather than trying to change students to fit our systems. What kinds of things do we need to do to transform our college into a community of inclusive excellence? Well, here are 4 things that we can and should and will do. First of all, we need to develop a strategic diversity plan. We hired a consultant last year to conduct an inventory of all our diversity activities. The results were kind of astonishing. The consultant listed 546 separate diversity initiatives across the campus. 546. We should feel good about the energy that's embodied in these efforts. However, the consultant also pointed out that we are engaged mostly in boutique activities that are isolated from one another and that do not reflect any overall coherent vision. The whole is somehow less than the sum of the parts. And hence, her number 1 recommendation is that the college develop a strategic diversity plan, and I want us to do it this year. The major components of a plan would include defining what we mean by inclusive excellence, grounding our understanding of inclusive excellence in our mission and values. I think this is so important because it's so easy to think, I've got my job to do, and now I've got this other thing that they're asking me to do too. And we need to get to the point of seeing that the mission that drives our work includes what I'm talking about. It is the work we need to do. It's not something else. We need to create a vision of what success would look like. We need to determine a baseline and targets so that we can measure if we're moving in the right direction. We need to achieve buy-in, and we need to hold ourselves accountable for what we say we're going to do. We need to increase our compositional diversity, faculty, staff, students, trustees. We need to review our college policies through the lens of inclusive excellence and see if there are policies we need to change or adapt. And we need to develop a toolbox, by which I mean things like the training sessions, how do you manage racial comments in the classroom, I mean a whole broad toolbox to meet our needs. So all of these things, I think, need to be identified in a plan. And developing a strategic diversity plan with teeth is the first step that I want us to take this year to transform our college. Second, we need to find our blind spots and correct them. I think that book, Blind Spots, is the Dignitas read this year, and it's a good read. Some of our language, for example, reflects unconscious but harmful assumptions. A nursing student from Africa reads in her textbook that healthy skin is pink. Now, what should she think? Another example, how exactly do we determine which students we call diverse? Maybe we should say that Caucasian students are diverse because they're different from Mexican or Japanese students. As we currently use the word, diverse carries the implication of difference from a norm or a standard. And that sends a message to some students: you're outside the norm. You are abnormal. Rather, let's use diverse in a way that automatically includes everybody. Not different from the norm, but variety of viewpoints or multiple perspectives in an educational endeavor. This makes diversity a good thing to celebrate and not a problem to be solved. For the past 2 years, I've met regularly with some of our international students and domestic students of color and their allies, because I really want to understand their experiences here. Some of what they report has been difficult and painful to hear. I came here expecting a safe environment, but I was wrong. I feel that I don't fit in. It's hard being a student of color at a predominantly white school. I have to put on my mask when I leave my room. These stories extend beyond race and ethnicity and include also sexual orientation and sexual identity, physical challenges, and other struggles in which students find themselves. Students may feel out of place or disadvantaged because of overt acts of prejudice or racism, and we have had to deal with some ugly incidents on our campus. But students often feel marginalized just because they are not part of the in-group. They are in the minority. Those who are in the majority benefit from the systems that the majority has constructed, while those in the minority don't share the privileges. They're the left-handed people in the world where the scissors are right-handed. One sociologist has referred to this as the Matthew effect. The rich get richer at a rate that makes the poor get relatively poorer. Our higher education systems, for example, have been designed by people like me who succeed in them. But they don't serve everyone well. And those of us who benefit from the current structures have a hard time seeing how they can discourage or even alienate others. We need to identify our blind spots, to recognize in-group favoritism at our school, and change our policies to benefit everybody. Third, we need to change the assumption that academic excellence means treating everybody the same. I grew up believing that excellence, like justice, should be blind. Treating people fairly means treating them equally. We have standards, and if some people cannot achieve them, they must try harder. I saw the world as a meritocracy where people are rewarded for their efforts. I've had a successful academic career, and I am proud of my accomplishments, but I've also come to understand that being male, white, and over 6 feet tall are not incidental to my success. Imagine a situation where we expect everyone to be able to see over a fence. The taller people can already see over it, but the shorter people cannot, no matter how hard they try. We ought to provide them boxes to stand on. In this case, treating people fairly means treating them appropriately, not treating them equally. We will not realize equality of access and opportunity by treating all students as though they are the same, because they are not the same. Some have been fed well, loved well, and encouraged from their earliest years. Others have not. My father read poetry to me when I was a boy. In Tanzania, Anetta and I held orphans who were so desperate for human touch that they wailed miserably whenever we set them down. If all students are to have a realistic chance at success, some students will need educational boxes so they can see over the fence. Treating people differently is not compromising quality or standards. In the end, students have to meet the standards, but first we need to get them all on a level playing field. Equity is needed to achieve equality. Affirmative action admissions policies are one example. Finally, in order to transform our institution, we need to change our expectations. A black student earns a B in a course and is asked if that is his best grade this semester. In fact, it is his worst. What did we expect of him? We label some students disadvantaged or at risk. What fears do these labels reinforce for the students? What expectations do they set? What level of confidence do they show? We need really to believe in our students more perhaps than they believe in themselves. The University of Texas conducted an important experiment. The school identified the students in its entering class who fit the profile of least likely to succeed in college. Like many schools, Texas created a special program for these students. But unlike other schools, the university radically changed its messaging to the students. The students least likely to succeed were not told that they were being placed in a remedial program. Rather, they were invited to join the University Leadership Network. The message they heard was that they had been selected not because the university was worried that they would fail, but because it was confident that they could succeed. All the program requirements reinforced this expectation. Students in the Leadership Network wore business attire to class. They participated in community service and internships. They were expected to move into leadership positions on campus. And they had extra instruction each week because they were part of a community of promise. In exchange, they earned scholarships. Over and over, these at-risk students were told that it was really possible and even expected for them to succeed and excel. As a result, many of them did. They performed beyond what their profiles would predict, mostly because the school believed in them. The University of Texas understood something important. The previous experiences of these students affected their readiness to learn, not their ability to learn. Get them ready, and their abilities will flourish. Developing a strategic plan, finding and correcting our blind spots, treating people appropriately, and changing our expectations. These are things that we can do to gather more and more students into our community of excellence. What could we be the best in the world at? This is the question that Jim Collins asks organizations to ponder if they want to move from good to great. Powered by our Catholic Benedictine values that see the image of God in all persons, and supported by this superb cadre of faculty and staff, I believe the College of St. Scholastica can become the most welcoming, supportive, and inclusive community of learners anywhere. A community where everyone feels empowered to succeed. For inspiration and guidance, we need look no further than our sponsors, who are models of hospitality. Let's do what they do. Our college has a long history as an adaptive community. We began 103 years ago as a 2-year undergraduate women's college in Duluth. Today, we are a comprehensive coeducational school offering baccalaureate, master's, and doctoral programs at several locations and online, and expanding to the American Southwest. The most significant challenge facing our school today is not affordability or government regulation or the impact of technology. It is becoming a more diverse and inclusive community of learners where everyone can succeed. This is also our greatest opportunity. If we listen carefully to the voices of our students who struggle to fit in, if we imagine their world and how we might change ours for them, and if we have the courage to do so, our college can transform itself once again, this time into an academic community of inclusive excellence. Our Catholic Benedictine values compel us to do this. I mean, think about it. If the College of St. Scholastica cannot realize inclusive excellence for all God's children, who can? Indeed, we should become the leaders in helping transform the broader Duluth community. I'm asking us to engage in big work. I understand that. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I do myself. So here are a couple of steps to get us started. First of all, please make a personal commitment. You. I've secured head and heart buy-in from each member of the President's staff. They had to do more than nod their heads. They had to say individually, yes. And I hope to earn it from each of you as well. Please reflect on the things I've discussed and ask yourself whether our mission requires anything less than taking action on behalf of those who do not feel safe or fully included in our community. Talk with your colleagues about what our obligations are. Challenge one another, support one another. Come to the follow-up breakfast and lunch discussions. Read. There's material that's being put out all the time. Take advantage of the various training opportunities, such as the Roots sessions that the college provides, and participate in the planning sessions that we will sponsor. Second thing, get tactical traction on something. You can expect a forthcoming paper drafted by the MCOD group and endorsed by the President's staff entitled Inclusive Excellence at the College of St. Scholastica. It lays out a vision of what inclusive excellence means for us, grounds it in our values, and it identifies specific markers that would demonstrate our success in achieving it. Read the paper, take it to heart, ask what your department can do, ask what you can do to turn the vision into reality. Our path to inclusive excellence will not always be smooth, but you have demonstrated to me time and again over the years that this community will achieve whatever it puts its mind and its passion to. I look forward to working with you in this noble effort, and I say, Vivat a more diverse St. Scholastica. Thank you.